Nobody expected this. After all the drama, after the blockbuster that sent him out of Los Angeles and reshaped the entire identity of this franchise, the one name that the league quietly keeps circling back to for the Lakers is the same one that once defined our defense, our ceiling, and our biggest what-ifs. Welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report. You're here with me, and if you want serious information, real context, and fast, honest updates about our Lakers, this is your space. Tonight I'm going to walk you through why, behind the noise of early season struggles in Dallas, cap maneuvering in LA, and the brutal arms race in the West, there is a growing wave of speculation putting Anthony Davis back on the Lakers board. What that would mean for the Luka Doncic era in purple and gold, how it would reshape the rotation, what it would cost, which signals are real, and how far this idea has already moved from Twitter joke to quiet talking point in real league conversations. I'm not telling you it's done. I'm not selling fake breaking news. What I'm going to do is lay out the full map for you. Context, behind-the-scenes logic, numbers, risk, upside, and the symbolic impact of seeing AD in a Lakers jersey again, so that by the end of this video, you have your own informed opinion, not one built on shallow headlines. Since the trade that shook the NBA, sending Davis out of Los Angeles and opening the door for a bold new core around Luka, the Lakers have lived in a kind of paradox. On one side, they recovered global star power, built around one of the most gifted offensive engines of this generation, and assembled a deeper, more versatile roster than in several recent seasons. On the other, every tough stretch against real contenders keeps exposing the same question that every honest fan feels. Is there still a missing defensive pillar in the front court that could turn this group from dangerous into inevitable? DeAndre Ayton brings size, touch, and important flashes, but you know it, I know it, the league knows it. He does not bend game plans the way a locked-in Anthony Davis does. He is not the same psychological presence at the rim, not the same all-court eraser, not the same playoff problem for scouting staffs. And in Dallas, things are not linear either. Davis remains a monster when available, but he's now in a team trying to balance a new timeline, invest in a rising core, and manage his body with the weight of expectations. When the results don't explode and the fit doesn't look perfect, the market starts sniffing around. It always starts the same way. At first, you get the just exploring possibilities columns, then a couple of reputable voices drop, almost casually, that maybe the long-term alignment is not as guaranteed as the press conferences suggest. Then come the quiet conversations about different timelines, about franchises who don't want to be trapped in an aging max deal, and about others desperate for exactly that kind of impact to jump a tier. At that point, some executives looked at the board and see a rational path. If Dallas decides that their cleanest route is to grow around Cooper Flagg and a cheaper, more flexible core, flipping Davis while his value is still strong might be strategic. And if there's one place where Davis has already proved he can anchor a defense, live with the spotlight, and respond to one of the most demanding fan bases in sports, that place is Los Angeles. But this time, the politics in LA are different. The front office that lived through the first Davis-LeBron era came out with scars. Thin depth, heavy long-term commitments, blind trust that talent alone would fix structural issues. Now the approach is colder. Any serious discussion about bringing AD back runs through brutal filters on cost-benefit, medical confidence, cap flexibility, and playoff impact. The internal question is not, do we like Anthony Davis? Everyone likes that level of talent. The question is, can we build a version 2.0 where he is the piece that completes us, not the start of another cycle of frustration? At the same time, the franchise cannot ignore the living memory of peak AD in a Lakers uniform. The title run, the series where he seemed to cover the whole floor, the matchups he single-handedly flipped. When that package of skills even theoretically drifts back within reach, you at least sit down and run the math. That's where the more serious trade concepts start to appear. Not fan-made screenshots, but frameworks designed to work inside the second apron world with matching money, multi-team involvement, and real asset valuation. The core of every pro-AD argument is simple. Do not touch Luka, do not detonate the core that makes sense now, protect the true blue-chip youngsters, and build an aggressive but calculated package around future firsts, swaps, movable mid-sized deals, and maybe one rotation player you believe you can replace. In return, the Lakers would get a two-way big who knows the building, understands the magnitude of this market, and would be returning in a very different context.
now next to one of the most dominant creators on Earth, with a performance staff fully committed to structured load management and a clearly defined role from day one. None of that is easy, but that mix of Lakers history, competitive urgency, and tactical logic is exactly what keeps this rumor alive instead of burying it in Fantasyland. On the floor, the theoretical fit is almost unfair. Picture it. Luka snaking high pick and rolls, manipulating tags and closeouts, with Davis as the screener who can roll hard, pop to space at the nail, or dive to the rim for lobs that punish any late help. Shooters spaced in both corners, smart cutters slicing behind ball-watching defenses, and a defense on the other end that can finally be built around a true backline organizer again. In long series against big, physical teams, Denver, Minnesota, any frontcourt that punishes you inside, having Davis as your anchor means you don't need Luka emptying the tank on every defensive possession, means your wings can close out more aggressively knowing there is elite protection behind them, and means you can survive off nights from complementary pieces because your floor on that end is higher. That's not nostalgia talking. That's pure matchup geometry. But rumor without criticism is just wishful thinking, so let's hit the uncomfortable part. Davis is no longer 25. The injury history is real, the miles are real, and the money is massive. Bringing him back would mean embracing a high-variance investment. Your title odds skyrocket if it works, your margin for error collapses if it doesn't. It demands brutal honesty, a detailed medical and performance plan, transparency with him about minute management, back-to-back strategy and playoff ramp-up, and alignment in the locker room about his role alongside Luka. It also demands making sure that reviving this partnership does not crack the chemistry that has started to build in the post-trade locker room, where roles are clearer and the narrative is about a collective built around a single offensive fulcrum, not overlapping hierarchies. From the Dallas side, any opening depends on their read of the asset. If internally they believe they can turn Davis into a package of picks, wings, and flexibility that better matches their ideal window, then previously unthinkable conversations become responsible business. That's the small window where the Lakers profile as a natural partner. Big market, timeline to min now, an existing relationship with the player, and the kind of stage that can appeal to a star who still sees himself competing for rings, not just finishing out a contract. A reconstructed core of Luka plus Davis plus a trimmed but smart supporting cast is exactly the kind of project that warps the Western Conference on paper and on the court, which is why even the suggestion of it moves attention. Inside LA, the fan temperature matters too. I read the reactions. Part of the fan base still feels burned out from the first run. Another part would drive to the airport themselves if it meant seeing peak AD under the Lakers' lights again. A lot of people live in the middle, torn between fear of the same story and awareness that there are very few humans alive who can do what Davis does on a basketball court. The front office feels that noise. If this rumor grows legs, how the Laker faithful respond will help shape whether ownership has appetite for another all-in or prefers a more flexible, wing-heavy, depth-driven path around Luka. Zooming out to league trends, there is logic in at least exploring the idea. Recent champions show a pattern, an elite initiator paired with either a dominant big, a terrifying rim presence, or a cluster of oversized two-way wings. Guard plus random centers rarely sustain 4 rounds.
For the Lakers to truly maximize Doncic, they need a structure that protects the paint, cleans the glass, allows him to conserve energy defensively, and amplifies his playmaking with serious vertical and horizontal threats. A fully engaged, properly managed Anthony Davis checks every one of those boxes in one roster spot. The catch is obvious. How many picks, how many rotation pieces, how much future flexibility do you burn betting on getting that specific version consistently? Let's go one layer deeper, because this is exactly the kind of thing front offices break down on whiteboards. With the new apron rules, stacking massive deals kills your ability to use certain exceptions, aggregate salaries, or buy mistakes later. For the Lakers, a Davis return would lock them into a narrow path where the margin for roster error is low. But if the Luka-Davis combo is truly championship grade, you don't need 10 mid-tier contracts. You need 4 smart ones, internal development, and a coach who knows exactly how to stagger and weaponize his top guys. The risk is not just financial, it's structural. Miss on this and you're handcuffed for years. Hit on this and you've built one of the most terrifying cores in basketball. That's the math serious people are doing. There is also the human layer you cannot ignore. Davis knows the city, the media, the pressure, the nights where one bad game turns into 3 days of noise, the weight of being the guy expected to close defensive possessions and lead by example. A return wouldn't be a cute reunion, it would be a narrative test. A star with a split legacy in LA coming back to try and rewrite his story alongside a new alpha. In the locker room, this can be incredibly powerful if the message is right. We are all in, we are older, smarter, and here to win. Or it can reopen old wounds if ego, availability, or expectations clash. That's why any real exploration of this scenario has to measure fit of personality and leadership as seriously as fit of skill set. On the technical board, both sides of the debate have strong arguments. The no camp leans on age, volatility, and the need to prioritize switchable wings plus long-term draft equity. The yes camp comes back with a simple point. Players who, even today, can anchor a top-5 defense and be a playoff-level second option on offense do not grow on trees. And when one of them has history with your franchise and potential access through market tension elsewhere, you at least answer the call. The NBA's biggest successes and biggest regrets are built exactly on this edge between courage and caution. What makes this particular rumor more than just nostalgia is the intersection. Lakers' structural need, Davis's situation, Dallas's potential strategic choices, and the new CBA reality all crossing in the same spot. When that happens, smart teams don't panic, but they do pay attention. And it's not random that this noise starts to swell right around the key checkpoints of the season. The first few weeks, when we see what's real and what was media day hype. The mid-season stretch, when front offices start admitting privately whether they're contenders or pretending. And the run-up to the deadline, when scenarios that looked impossible in October suddenly become reasonable because one side is desperate and the other is opportunistic. That invisible calendar is where the Lakers have historically thrived. If Dallas stalls, if Davis's camp starts to wonder about direction, if the numbers and health reports point to a narrow but real window, of course the idea of Los Angeles re-enters the chat. And if nothing concrete ever materializes, this entire discussion still reveals something important. The league still treats the concept of Anthony Davis in a Lakers uniform as powerful enough to shift fear and attention. That alone shows how big this hypothetical reunion would be. Before I close, I want to hear from you directly, one-on-one. If a realistic offer appears, no Luka involved, core preserved, price high but not suicidal, and it brings Anthony Davis back to Los Angeles with a clear role, a clear health plan, and a clear path to keeping real depth around them, are you in or out? Do you trust this version of the organization to manage his minutes, protect his body, and surround the stars with enough toughness and IQ to make it work better than last time? Or would you rather see the Lakers double down on wings, youth, and flexibility instead of another giant swing at a familiar name? Drop your answer in the comments. Tell me the trade package you'd accept and the line you wouldn't cross, because that pulse from Laker Nation matters. My conclusion, as direct and professional as I can put it, is this. Right now, Anthony Davis back to the Lakers lives in the category of serious speculation, not confirmed negotiation, born from competitive context, contract weight, roster needs, and the undeniable memory of what his two-way presence once did for this franchise. If, and only if, the cost is strategically smart, the medical and performance plan is airtight, and his arrival keeps the Lakers inside the title tier without shredding their depth or future, then this stops being pure nostalgia and becomes a legitimate path to chase another banner. Until then, my job is to keep you informed with clarity, not hype. So make sure you're subscribed to Lakers News Fan Report, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and share this with that one friend who lives inside the trade machine, because any real shift in the Anthony Davis conversation, any concrete link back to LA, you'll get it here first with fast, responsible, and passionate Lakers coverage.